PLEX, the golden commodity of Eve. I would say currency, since you can't straight up buy stuff with it. But New Eden claims it's a commodity. So they see it as bitcoins, I guess. And getting the currency is to either buy it with real money or buy it in-game for ISK. You might have heard that the higher PLEX prices, the worse the game will become. And to some extent that can actually be true. But if the game grows naturally, then the PLEX prices is just a price. That no matter how high it rises, it's an indication that the game is balanced. And the rising and fall is a way to read that there is a live-in market. But there's many reasons that PLEX prices rises. There's also good and bad outcomes. Let's dive into world of PLEX, and I would dissect every part of it so that you know exactly what it is. You know when it's good, and you know if it's bad. Welcome everyone, and welcome back to some of you. You might seen me before doing my market, industry or straight up gaming videos, but today I will explain what we can expect happen to the PLEX in the future, and why it behaves the way it does, and especially now. Since EVE Echoes is supposed to be a sandbox MMO just like EVE Online, it would appear that the PLEX, the pilot license extension that you use to play the game, is going to behave the same way in EVE Echoes as over at EVE Online. There is many reasons why it's not doing this in EVE Echoes today. PLEX, the golden commodity that can be traded between players on the market. PLEX can also be used in the New Eden store to upgrade your account to Omega, purchase skins, nanos and items alongside the blood red currency AUR. The AUR is only achieved through real money purchase and can be used in the store or converted into PLEX. Then the PLEX can be bought and sold for ISK in-game. This makes PLEX a value that moves. When the game launched, the prices for PLEX were 8,000 ISK. The reason for this was simple. The ISK value in-game was extremely low, and making 8,000 ISK was basically like making 1.2 million today, 2 years later, maybe even a bit less. So buying PLEX back then was not easy, since the missions and the tech levels and the ships made your income drastically lower. Saving for an 8 million cruiser took like 2 weeks farming for me, and today a bit over an hour. And that would be like 1000 PLEX in 2 weeks. But of course, when I farmed for my cruiser, the PLEX prices had already climbed from 8,000 to 22,000 ISK, so that was only worth about 300 PLEX, or so. During this period, I bought PLEX with my hard-earned ISK every time I had the chance. And as the prices did rise, I of course had to pay more for each PLEX the further into the game I got. And the reason is of course that all people in the game made ISK and bought the PLEX to fund their game time. The value of the PLEX is corresponding to the overall value of the players in-game. So let us delve into that a bit more. So PLEX comes from people who uses real money to buy PLEX and then put it on the market. That's the idea of it. And we don't know if NetEase is magically spawning PLEX as well on the market, but for this video, let's assume they don't right now. The more people that buy PLEX, the less the PLEX will be valued, since market has more to sell. This can we easily see during events, when a lot of people are buying packs. This is usually a good time to invest in PLEX, if that is what you're going for, since more PLEX on the market will be cheaper PLEX. The PLEX can also be cheaper if they have a reduced PLEX price for money, but it will not be affected if you buy straight up game time. The PLEX prices can also rise in price due to many other different reasons. If the PLEX are steady climbing because the values in-game are being more valuable, this is nothing but good and a necessity for the game to thrive. This makes people make more ISK in-game to cover for a higher price in the PLEX. And making ISK for the Omega is the same struggle no matter if the PLEX is 1 million or worth 2 million. This is all fine, even though it seems scary for new players who just joined the game. After a year in the game, I had saved up a bit over 20,000 PLEX. I estimate that I bought them at an average price of 150,000 ISK by then, and we will talk more about this later in the video. New players in the game will make a lot less ISK than older players, similar to older players in other games. They get better gears, they get more gold, they get more experience than new players. But if the value follows the PLEX prices in EVE Echoes, as in EVE Online, then new players won't have it as hard as the older players had themselves in the beginning. And just imagine if the items on the market that new players can get their hands on would be valued 1 million instead of like today, 15,000. And it's true you can't compare EVE Echoes or EVE Online just to any other MMO. Because in other games, level items or areas or hidden parts of the game does help new players get into the game. In the EVE universe, it's all about the ISK. And if you are one of those in the comments saying, I don't care about the ISK, I just want to have fun, I just say, well, you do need ISK for it. Either you pay the fun with your wallet or your spare time. It's still a value. Pretty much the same value you get from watching my content, so hit that subscribe and like this video so we can continue. Yeah, it's fine, I'll wait. Oh, thank you. Oh, you didn't subscribe. Alright, I guess you do it after the video. So if PLEX prices rising should be a good thing, why is it rising now when the game is doing poorly? You might ask. Well, here is the issue with EVE Echoes market. And there is several reasons this happened lately. Let's first list up the things that will make the PLEX rise in price. The PLEX will go up in price if people buy PLEX with ISK. If people buy pure game time without the PLEX middle hand. If in-game item value rises. If NetEase or the company gets involved and manipulate the PLEX market. This is the major things that will make the PLEX price rise. Now why would the PLEX prices fall? Well, the PLEX prices will fall when the game has a sale event and more PLEX is added, or when people don't buy PLEX with ISK, but only with real money, if the in-game items loses value, or if NetEase or a company manipulate the market. As you can see, you should be asking a big question here. If PLEX prices should fall if in-game item loses value and when people don't use ISK for buying PLEX, then why does it rise in the price today, since market and the game does poorly? This is why EVE Echoes is in a somewhat difficult situation. It's impossible for me to know for sure, but I will tell you what I think puts us in this PLEX situation today. And this is also the reason I sold all my 20,000 PLEX a year back at 1.8 million each. PLEX prices has been rising steadily since the game launch, and this was mostly due to that player made more ISK as they got better in the game. Then we had the first player issue, where many players left the game during the Christmas. This made PLEX prices hold for a long period at 500,000 each. No more new players, and old players played a lot less. The game then made smaller success, and existing player base kept playing. The game now was living through people buying PLEX with real money and selling for ISK. This made it very good for new players who wanted to pay for nice ships and in-game with their own wallet. Since old players did run the game, they already had the ISK and the PLEX and the items they needed, so even items started to be less valued. The drop rate in-game was not monitored, and this was the beginning of the market we have today. EVE Echoes market values are almost nothing, so making ISK in-game to pay for your Omega is today impossible, unless you're T10. So we have a forced payment to even play the full game. Not because the PLEX prices are too high, but because the values in-game are too low, and the new players, who is also restricted with a tech level, can't possibly make enough ISK for an Omega anymore. If the new players should have the possibility to make harder content or find valuable items, this would have been a possible mission to achieve. So knowing all this, PLEX prices are still rising. Why? The PLEX prices should be falling, since all values are falling. But there is one big reason why this is happening. The reason is PLEX. There is not enough PLEX on the market, and the game is surviving through whales. Not enough players play the game and buying the PLEX with ISK. And of course they ain't, since it's so hard to get the ISK in game for anyone who's not T10. Why would you spend 60 hours a week in game just to pay for the game? It's easier to pay $10 or $20 and don't play 60 hours and just pay and do the fun stuff. This has nothing to do with pay to win. This is basically people being smart and valuing their own personal time, paying for the ability to play the game with $20 from working 1 hour overtime at work instead of wasting 60 hours of their free time. This is the issue we have today in EVE Echoes. This is the big income netties have to hold on to, and the higher the PLEX value, alongside with the bad in-game value, the more people will use their wallets. So unless we get more players in the game to buy up the saturated market, as well as putting money in netties' wallets in terms of game time and PLEX, it's a dead end. The game needs their foundation fixed, or this will just continue. So it might be very well that they can't afford to fix the market today, or the industry. Perhaps they can't afford to change the insurance, because they don't believe in their own player base. EVE Echoes might turn into a pay-to-PvP game. But PLEX prices will rise, since more and more expensive new stuff will arrive in the game, that with every hour will be less valued, until they implement some new stuff to keep players interested. The one that pays, there is. This is why I knew that capitals was a bad idea. Not the capital itself, but the very action of implementing them showed me their intentions. This is not a healthy structure for a game, but as for me as a T10, I don't feel this issue that much, and I can enjoy the game. But any new players who want to join EVE Echoes will face the struggle and the pain as we all have, but even worse. And the longer they wait to join the game, it will be even harder. More and more new players must rely on older players in the game to enjoy it. And as for a mobile game, this human behavior is harder to tackle than actually fixing the game. Because mobile gamers usually don't even talk to others on the phone. They just test the game for a couple of hours or maybe a few days. They are not accustomed to talk. So what is the plan? There is of course many ways to fix the PLEX issues, but I think the biggest solution is make more players play the game. Remove the check levels and the restrictions for ships and encounters. I think it's enough that free-to-play players skills a lot slower. We also need a mineral sink. And the solution to do that is to fix more content to get us more active players. We need to fix the industry and remove the ISK sinks. Let us replace all the stuff that we lose with our ISK. So the insurance need a haircut and the items in game need a better value. That way we don't need the ISK sinks at all. This is the future. Otherwise, PLEX in EVE Echoes is not the golden commodity. It's just a yellow ticket to enjoying the game. And as you see guys, my channel is unpredictable as the improbability engine on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And if you want to follow my gaming and YouTube progress, hit that subscribe and show me that you want more of these sort of videos. Or why not tell me what kind of videos you would like me to do. And maybe, just maybe, I will make one in your honor. Like the video, and I see you again.